G'day, welcome back. This is the next video in my series on edge cases, where we look at endgame positions where there's like a boundary condition. You know, on one side of it's a win or a draw, on the other side it's a loss. Now, the endgame we're going to look at today is a knight versus a rook pawn, which we know is notoriously bad for the defending knight, right? So they're very simple positions. And I came across it because I saw a blog on the internet about position. They were referring to the 100 Endgames You Must Know book, which obviously is sort of a nice curated list of endgames you should try and understand pretty well. And I'm going to sort of use that as the starting point for the analysis, but I've actually switched across to my Muller and Lamprecht fundamental chess endings because it covers the same position, and I think probably in a little bit more systematically. You can see the position on the thumbnail is the one we're going to look at in the end, and it's all about that barrier that the knight can set up. And if the white king is on the top row and it is black to move, you lose, and otherwise it's a draw. So we'll get on to how that all works. Looking at sort of the main, as I say with edge case, what we're trying to look for is the critical defensive techniques and attacking motifs. Okay, so let's switch across to the capture screen now, and you can see I've put a different position up there with a little thumbnail from Fundamental Chess Endings, and the position on the screen is the one we're going to look at first, just to show a defensive technique which will be relevant for the second position. You can see there it's the second position is flipped versus a thumbnail, but we'll use the other version, which was the one which was in 100 endgames you must know. The reason why I started doing this, by the way, is because my previous video on the candidate's blunders, in inverted commas in this case, was a game, I think, Petrosian Geller, and it's sort of a very fascinating knight versus pawn endgame where there were many, many only moves, and also reminded me a lot of Botvinnik-Kronstein in the 1950 World Chess Championship, where Kronstein did blunder, and it's interesting with the knight endgames. They're quite tricky. It's like almost a concept of corresponding squares, but you've got to be very conscious of mind squares and barriers in the position. So it's kind of sort of all fits together. And now I'm going to look at this position, or the bottom position there, in a bit more detail. So the reason we're looking at this first position is just to understand one of the defensive techniques, right? So it's the white to move, white just goes and picks up the knight and wins the game. So that's fine. But let's just have a look at this black to move. There's two continuations here. And if we go this way, it's the wrong way. We've seen this in other positions. We're now losing because now we just go and pick up the knight. We can't stop the king from getting out. Go back to the starting position. What we need to do is when white takes the knight, black must be able to get onto the c7 square. And there is a way of doing that. When you come around the other side, variation. Now if the knight king goes for a runner, we have this stalemate trick. Remember that happens in pawn endgames as well. So just quite interesting. What we look at in the second position is that's going to be one of the defensive techniques which the defending side will be looking to use. Okay, now let's go and have a look at my simulator. Now what I've done here, you can see I've added to the functionality of it. And so that's the position we're going to look at, and we want to know when it's a draw, when it's a loss, and what sort of zones we have. What I've added there is you can see that done a little modification to my code, and it's showing you why the zone is there. And let me just move the king around. It only spots the closer ones, right? So if you're on G6, for instance, then you can see that the white knight is directly defending those squares. Come around and you can see, now you can see that E3 is mined because you will be able to check on F1 and then pick up the pawn. See that the king can sneak through here. And you can see that's why the barrier is there, because the knight's directly blocking E2 and E4 and indirectly blocking D2 and E3, which makes it very circuitous routes to get to the knight, drive the knight away for starters. And the knight may go into the corner and you go and take the knight, and obviously it all depends upon where the white king is. So we can have a quick look at this. Next position, next game, is this one. And once again, because of that, there's only one drawing move here. We could look at this position in more detail itself, because if white does something like king to b7, which is a losing move, then all black has to do is run across, so king f2, right there, h2, and the pawn is simply going through. The thing to bear in mind is king f3 doesn't work, because now we're on the circuit. This is the drawing circuit you need to understand. Yeah, so you got to keep the knight off that circuit if the pawn's only on the 6th rank, right? So I'm going to go all that. This is obviously all these sorts of things. But anyway, so knight there, it has set up that barrier, and that gets you the extra tempo. If you're going to go there anyway, then that was the trick, right? If you look at the position, the starting position is that you can't get on to that circuit you want to be on. Circuit you want to be on is this circuit. And the knight just doesn't have the time to get onto it. Obviously, you can't get onto that square. That's the problem got. Okay, so therefore we have knight to G3, setting up the barrier is the move. And now we have to look at the different combinations of how the white king can come back, right? So let's go to here. And we make it side black in this case. So it's telling us with black to move, it is a win only if white is on the top 8th rank. And if we make it white to move, there's no winning positions because white will be able to come back onto the 7th rank. So what I want to do is let's just go and right. So you can see if you're on A8, you go to B7 and then you go to C6, and the black king may block on D4 and E5. That's what those marked players move. And then actually by that stage, it looks like the knight can move and you hold out. If you're on, say, D8, not working particularly well, then you run to C7 and C6. Now, I think the important thing to point out here is that you don't defend from the top. You've got to have this ability to come around the side. Yeah, and you can see that the way you can pitch on some of these lines is a bit weird because it's, you're often running and circling around. But that will have generated a PGN. So let's load at the PGN and have a look at how it has dealt with each of these positions. Okay, so this is the file of the name. Can't see it there. This is the version where black wins from this position with black to move. Okay, so either king c2 or king d4 win. Let's do this. Basically, it's going around that barrier. White starts running down. We're heading across. Knight's got to move. Check. Could have also gone in the corner, get trapped. Just go there. Right back to there. We just zigzag across. The important thing is to drive the knight away. At this point, we're winning. I mean, probably the most resilient would be in the corner, but you don't have enough time to get in there, right? So let's have a look at the next position. If you're on B8, also losing, but in this case, only king d4 wins. Let's go through that line, king d4, and d7, king e5, and problem is that if it comes on top, you're losing, so you'd imagine if you come down c6, but your one move is you have to move the knight. It's the tempo you've lost. Okay, so the king's too far away. Let's try the next one. Yeah, but I think it's pointing. Let's say you try to go around the other way, which is king to c2. Remember, all these squares are mined. So now king comes across, and king comes across, king comes up. Right. So because the route through around the bottom takes one more tempo, that way doesn't work. Black's got to shoulder the white king. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Once again, king d4. You've got to go around the top. Got to shoulder the king away. Right, the king's trying to go the other side, but this is that line we just saw again, so it's lost. Yep, that's quite interesting. That now, if the king was one square further down on the 7th rank, which we don't have here, then what would happen is that the king would make it in both scenarios. Let's go and have a look at that. It's this position here. Let's go right to there. Now, let's do the two lines. King up the top. Well, we come around. King e5 is the route we're talking. Avoid the mined squares. Keep on coming back. Take the knight. King f1. Okay, now we go for the knight. King comes back. Problem is the knights go on that good route. Yeah, so we can't win it. So this is the key position here. Push our pawn. A couple of ways of doing it. Now the knight's got to go in the corner, and then we're going to pick the knight up, but see that block, right? We'll go back to the start. Check. Let's go the other way. On 6th rank, we can't allow this setup because that will be a draw. Well, basically, you've allowed it already. But anyway, let's start moving our king in. And now we have to make sure we don't get trapped. Variation. So more accurate at this position is once you played the move h6, then all these ones. So now let's try and go via c2 again, c6, d1, king d5, e1, e4, king f2, and actually you can either stick your knight in the corner. That definitely is an edge case. One more move away, you lose. On, and then let's go edit, set up board, and we'll make this white to move, or black to move. Okay, and then now we go king c2 wins. Go the long way. So the knight gets killed. Corner. In this case, couldn't get to the square where we need to get to. Okay, so I might have looked at that in a little bit too much detail, but I just wanted to sort of look at this position. You can see it's like good use of the little simulator I've got and end cases. And what I like doing is I've added this feature where it's actually showing you the knight, the barrier, the force wall, which is established by the knight as you move the king around. So showing you how it's constructed from the knight moves and there's sort of indirect second attack. And there's probably third order effects in some knight endgames. So I'll probably use this little added feature in future sort of edge cases, which I come across as I look at a lot of chess blogs that are out there. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very much for watching.